everybody. Welcome to the Stock Car Spectacle. I'm Ian Jortson.
I'm Tom Hoblin.
And Nick is not on the show today, but we still got his picks. We will be making those towards the end of the show for Coda this upcoming weekend, but we do have Atlanta to talk about. But before we get into all that, let's kick off with our diecast of the week. Tom, what you got for us?
All right, I got my Christopher Bell 20 pit shirt on, so I thought I'd bring out an old Joe Gibbs 20 Home Depot car to celebrate the win this week. So put a shadow on my face, but just a
Awesome.
classic, nothing special. Home Depot 20.
Love it. Love it. All right, so for my diecast of the week, I got nothing for Coda, and Atlanta's already passed. I'm pissed off from how that race ended, so we're looking forward. And I brought out one of my newer diecasts, Noah Gregson's Miller Tech number 10 from Stewart Haas Racing. He brought over Miller Tech over to Front Row Motorsports, so can't wait to see that on track soon. He does have Rush Truck Centers this weekend, though.
All right. How was your birthday? Did you have a good birthday?
Yeah, birthday was good. Had my family and the in-laws over. It was yesterday, and yeah, just kind of hung around and watched Spider-Man movies.
Excellent, excellent. Couldn't ask
And
for anything more.
I know over the off season you were working on that Titanic Lego set.
Oh yeah.
Um, I got a Lego set of a the gauntlet from the
Oh
Infinity
okay.
War from the Marvel
Heck
Infinity
yeah,
War.
dude.
So
I love Lego. I got a bunch of sets up over here on those shelves above. It's a great pastime. I mean, we saw William Byron do it in the Netflix. Don't get hooked.
yeah,
You already have an expensive enough collection
yeah.
just
My
from what's in behind you. What I can see, I can't imagine what we can't see. But
Yeah, right. My wife was working on like an Animal Crossing Lego set with her friend last
heck
week,
yeah,
and so now she's like, "All right, we got to get Lego sets and work on them." I'm
yeah,
like, "I'm all
yeah.
for it."
You're done. You're done. It becomes an addiction.
Yeah,
Getting all I get all the race cars that they release, except I'm not buying all the F1 cars because they're all going to be the same. But anyway, leave a happy birthday comment to Ian for us. That would be wonderful to hear from all
very
you.
much, Tom. I appreciate it. All right. So, big story I saw on NASCAR Reddit. I didn't even realize this is the final contract year for Circuit of the Americas with NASCAR. So, do you think we could see them come back? Right now, there's been no negotiations going on, but so far, I have loved the racing at Coda.
I think the racing at Coda has been great. I still think you got to figure out how to do the track limits better because that's never been really a thing that NASCAR's had to deal with, and we saw it come into play with multiple drivers at the end of the races last year, and then the cautions. You got to figure out how to do the cautions, and their attempt this year is to shorten the track, basically take out that long V-shaped thing at the top of the track. Uh, I still don't think it'll help. Um, but Austin is a great market to be in, and I can't imagine that NASCAR would want to lose Austin. And I feel like people turn out to see this. Excuse me, to see this race. Um, so hoping is better than nothing, but I hope they go back. I like having Coda on there. I think it legitimizes our road course racing. We go where the F1 cars go. I mean, Australian supercars have run here. MotoGP runs here. It's like if you're a motorsport in America, you need to be racing at Coda, um, and I think they need to be there. So we'll see if they get something done. But
Yeah, you said it right. The fan turnout, it's always packed every single year. Like this is the fifth time that we'll be going to Circuit of the Americas. So I hope we see it in the future. Like you said, they're also shortening the track too, so hopefully that will bring down caution times as well because we've seen it with Road America and we saw it with Circuit of the Americas. Cautions, they just take forever.
yeah, I mean, they didn't shorten it all that much. Also, apparently, there's been like inconsistencies with exactly what they're running because like NASCAR keeps releasing different graphics on what track they're actually running. So that'll be interesting to see. But yeah, I mean, it's just that's what's going to happen with road courses and cautions. If you don't do local yellows, which it's kind of hard to do in NASCAR, but like if you don't do that stuff, then we're gonna be stuck in pace lap limbo forever.
Yeah, it gets really old after a while. But we'll
Mhm.
see with this weekend with how it goes. All right, so this past weekend, NASCAR was in Atlanta. The Truck Series kicked off, and Tom, surprise, surprise, your boy Kyle Busch gets it done for his eighth Truck Series win at Atlanta Motor Speedway.
It was incredible to watch him, and you can still see, even in the latter part of his career, you can still see the prowess and that experience can get it done, even at a drafting racetrack. I mean, he was just toying with the guys at the end. He'd let them go past, then he'd get them right back, and let them go past, and they'd go past him, and you'd think he'd be out, but he was just able to generate runs on his own, pull in front of those trucks. I mean, he is a whiz. He pulled. Do you remember Pocono? I think it was it last year or a couple years ago. He put a move on the tunnel turn on Corey Heim to go win the race on the last lap.
Right?
He
Yeah,
did. I feel like every pass when he retook the lead in this race was the exact same thing. Just put on a clinic, show those guys how it's done, um, and yeah, that's all we really need to take away from that one. Kyle
yeah.
Busch is in the field; he's going to dominate.
Yeah, it's always good to have a little pep in your step, even if it is like, Truck Series win, that's still a lot for
Hmm.
anybody. But good
For
to have
sure.
a pep in your step to kind of kick off 2025.
I mean, if you're not winning in the Cup Series, why not go feel what it is to pull into victory lane for one? I mean, how far the Kyle Busch fandom has fallen, but we'll take it, right?
Hey, it's still 22 years in a row with a
Hmm.
rowdy victory in NASCAR.
Yes,
So
in
that's still
NASCAR.
pretty huge.
And Richard Petty's day, it would all count just the same.
Yep,
I
exactly.
did see on Instagram Rebel Bourbon is going to be on his car this week for Coda, and they're releasing a rowdy uh, set or I don't know, a rowdy handle of bourbon. So I'm going to be on the lookout, try to snag me one of those and put it on my shelf over here. So
Yeah, dude, I saw
I
that.
think
That
that'd be a
that
cool
looks
piece.
really
That, but it's
nice.
like it's got a signature all over his branding. It's Kyle Busch branded. It looks really cool. So
Oh yeah, man. You
hopefully I
always
can
got
add
to
that
go
to
for stuff like
my
that.
whiskey collection.
Yeah, dude, absolutely. I mean, every time there was like a Kevin Harvick themed Bush can, I
Hmm.
was like, "Oh, I got to get that." And
Get it put on the shelf.
I still got it on display with the whole
Heck yeah,
Bush diecast and all that. So, yeah, man,
wonderful.
that's what's great about NASCAR collecting. We find a lot of cool,
Hmm.
weird stuff. Like we're just gonna keep a bottle of bourbon just on our shelves and never drink it. Alrighty, so Xfinity, surprise, surprise, Austin Hill gets it done. This guy just loves winning at drafting tracks, and especially in his hometown of Atlanta.
For sure. I mean, he hasn't lost. He has not lost at Atlanta yet, which is I didn't realize when they were saying that in the broadcast. I mean, that's it's incredible. And the big moment from this race obviously has to be the final restart when Allgaier gets out a car length in front of him and doesn't pull up. What do you think of that move?
I don't get it. Why aren't you going out there and blocking the best drafting driver right now? It makes no sense because you're basically just giving him the win. Like everybody was saying, man, these drivers, they're just scared to race Austin Hill. Like, is he
Mm.
really that good? Or are you just worried that he's just not gonna give a fuck and turn you?
I I didn't understand the move either. And it's easy for us to be like, well, Austin Hill goes wins the race, you go get in front of him. It's hindsight. It's 2020, of course. But I mean, that car, you don't know how it goes in dirty air. Maybe they are scared of it, but it's hard to fault if you have one of the young guys on there. You got like Nick Sanchez coming in there and gets in the lead late, and he doesn't pull up in front. Yeah, that's one thing. Um, it's an experience, but Allgaier, you got to trust his judgment and whatnot. So I don't fault him too much. It's going to be a long season, and that 7 car will get to victory lane. Um, but both RCR cars locked into the playoffs already.
Yeah,
Incredible.
great start for Love and Hill, but somebody's got to stop those guys at the super speedways. Junior Motorsports has to get back into their mojo of winning at these kinds of tracks again.
For sure. I mean, you have Austin Hill leading the points. He jumped 16 spots in the points, which is kind of funny. Maybe it's too early to talk points, but Austin Hill's sitting first. Jesse Love's sitting third. Sheldon Creed, 1 point behind in second place. So Sheldon Creed
That's where he
doing
loves to
do
be,
it. He
man.
loves being second place. So we're already starting to get a. It's interesting to look at the playoffs right now after two super speedway style races,
Yeah.
um, and see who's starting out a foot ahead and who's starting out maybe a couple steps behind.
Yeah, usually right now, points, I don't even like to look at points. We're two races in, and it's
Hmm.
two super speedway tracks, so you're not even
Yeah,
gonna see what's actually gonna be there until the end of the season. I'd say give it 6 races and then let's look at points.
I just think of the confidence it would build for you to start your season out at the top of the sheet, or the confidence it would take away and the work you have to do to get a points deficit back if you're starting at the bottom of the sheet. So
Race Briscoe.
I yeah, well that's for Cup Series and whatnot. But I mean,
Mm,
there's some good cars down here that maybe should be doing a little bit better. I mean, and some cars you wouldn't expect. I mean, Matt DiBenedetto sitting 10th in the Xfinity points. Um, that's a new team. Haas Factory team is showing up. They're driving at the front. Just little trends we need to look at all season. I mean, we're counting points in the ones and twos by the end of the regular season. So you earn points all the same in the first few races.
very, very true. So Austin Hill, man, he won me 25 points this past weekend, so sitting pretty well after that one. All right. So the Cup Series race, of course, we have been in it for a few weeks now, and we've already had so many controversial moments into this season. And this one was NASCAR bringing out the caution with the wreck on the backstretch on the final lap, and it took away another amazing three wide photo finish from us. Um, and why we're mad about this, because NASCAR, they'll do this. It'll happen sometimes. But last week in the Daytona 500, same thing happened. They let them race to the finish. The Xfinity Series race, the day before this one on Saturday, same exact thing happened. We had a wreck on the backstretch. They let them race to the end. But Sunday, they decided to throw out the yellow, and Christopher Bell was the winner. I just hate the inconsistency from NASCAR. It's just getting a little ridiculous.
For me, and I hear a lot of people in the industry and the media saying this. It's not that they're mad that the caution was thrown. It is that consistency, and I think what else adds into it is on the broadcast, they are focused on those front three drivers. You don't see any resemblance of a crash, and then the little bug in the corner um, shows that the caution lights came on. You're like, oh well, what the heck? But if you look at the crash, that is a caution, 100 times out of 100, and it's frustrating to see the night before they're forcing those young guys to drive through a wreck because they don't throw the caution because they want it to come back around. The Daytona 500 in the Cup Series, force those guys on the backstretch to drive through a wreck, drive through oil and debris, and you don't throw the caution. I mean, someone's going to get hurt. So I'm 100% okay ending this race on a caution. I know maybe I'm on the minority opinion here, but I'm fine with this race ending under caution because it was a safety issue. This is a smaller track. They're going to come back around real quick after they hit the start finish line. Yes, it's a what could have been, but I mean, last year they finished three wide on the front and didn't wreck. The whole field didn't wreck coming down to the end of that race, and it was incredible. Um, so this one's on the drivers, and then it's on NASCAR to keep the drivers safe. And they got one right this weekend. They got one wrong, in my opinion.
Yeah, totally agree with you, man. Just super inconsistent. And if
Mhm.
you're not going to throw the caution on Saturday, you better not throw the caution on Sunday, or you better say you're making up for your mistakes because that was
Well,
super dangerous.
they came into the drivers' meeting and told all the drivers, they're like, "Hey, last night we messed up. If that happens again, we're going to throw the caution." Because yeah, you're like Denny said, maybe your favorite driver will be in the next one, and maybe they'll get hurt because NASCAR didn't respond fast enough. Um, especially with, I mean, again, we're talking about Xfinity points already. We're gonna look at the Cup points in just a second. Like the points they're already counting points, and if I'm a driver in the back of the field and I don't see the yellow flashing lights, and I see six cars spinning out, that's six more points I could go get. Um, They hit an oil slick, and then you T-bone somebody like Priest did to Larson at Talladega or at Daytona. Like it's just a dangerous situation, and it doesn't need to happen. Do you want them to go to must finish under green? Do you want them? Would you rather them call the race right when they did, or rack them back up and make them run 2 more laps, even if it was on the final lap?
Eh,
Checkered flag ends the race, and that's it. Which would you prefer?
yeah, just finish it as it is. If a caution comes
Hmm.
out, bring out the
Hmm.
caution. But I have heard people bring up some theories like, oh, if it's past a certain point or if there is a caution and you see them and just stop it at that line,
Yeah,
whoever's past that line, let them finish it out, which I mean, that would be really hard to just,
hard to police.
it would hard the police just in the moment.
You know
I
what that
get it.
is? You know what that is? They won't even do this on road courses. That would be a local yellow. They're
Yeah.
not going to do that. That's I mean, maybe you can put the race into 4, 6, 8 sections and control the lights in the individual section. Um, and everybody in front of say it's in section C, the wreck happens. Everybody beyond that can go back to the line as long as they slow down by the line. But I mean, even by that, if you're still in the third section of the track, you come to section A, you're still pretty close to the wreck. And if they're carrying too much speed back into that accident area, I mean, it's just getting too nitpicky when you start doing that. So I there's in my opinion, there's no better solution. If it's a Dale Jr. said it. If it's a caution on lap 5, it should be a caution on lap 200. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter how many laps to go.
Yep.
A caution is a caution. You got to slow down.
I just hate how NASCAR chooses what is a
Hmm.
caution and what isn't.
Right.
It
Right. I
blows my
mean,
mind every week.
we know they get antsy when you got a 150 lap run. I mean, we that was the Richmond deal with Kyle Busch last year. He got a little loose and went up and brushed the wall, and they threw the caution like that, and that was definitely not a caution. They just knew that the race was getting strung out and people were bored.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, it's tough when you know what's going on, know what you're looking at. But I'm I'm a little miffed at the talking points this week. Everybody's like, "Oh, they let them race last week. They did this. They did this." It's like every situation is a little bit different. But you look at that video. There's cars sideways across the racing surface. Atlanta's narrow. You got to throw the caution. Err on the side of safety. Safety first.
Yeah. They
Safety first.
yeah. Daytona, I get more. Bigger
Mhm.
track. You have more room to
They made the
slow
claim
down.
with Daytona that like they were past the cutouts for the safety vehicles, and they were sending safety vehicles onto the hot track at that point. Still weird, but again, Daytona's
Yeah.
bigger, wider. A lot of time that was on the middle of the backstretch. The spotters are telling them to go up all the way around the corner. I mean, Atlanta's so tight; there's a mile shorter. Uh, it's it's just a different situation.
Yeah. Different situation all around, but
Mhm.
man, what another wild weekend of racing. It's just a crazy way
Incredible,
to kick off the new
incredible.
season.
I mean, it does suck for everybody focused on the finish. Um, but this is what the speedway racing should be and should look like. And
Yes.
my only thought, and I haven't heard many people say this, and maybe I'm ridiculous for it, but it's like if this is the type of racing you're getting the same Daytona speeds in this smaller track package. Does that mean they have to go faster at Daytona to get a similar type of thing? And I know that everybody's like, "Oh, you can't get any faster at Daytona. Your cars will flip, people will crash, deaths and whatnot." But like, you got to figure out something because the cars are spread out. You're not seeing 30 car pileups if somebody wrecks because the cars aren't on top of each other. Handling matters, uh, and it sucks because Daytona and Talladega are iconic venues, but the racing has been absolutely drab at those two venues. And Atlanta is showing us that you can get the same thing somewhere else. And I personally don't want to see Daytona and Talladega go away in any capacity.
Yeah. No,
But
me
I'm not an
neither.
engineer. I don't know how to actually fix it.
Yeah, but the
Uh,
super speedway racing nowadays at Daytona and Talladega, it's like you're stuck in rush hour
yeah,
traffic. I think
you can't
Hocevar
get
put it
away.
perfectly. Like you're just stuck in line. There's literally
Hmm.
nothing you can do besides maybe moving up a lane if there's an open spot. But it's just so boring nowadays. You don't see actual racing up until the final lap, and then they're all wrecking.
Yeah,
Um,
and they're
but
pushing
at
so hard.
yeah, but Atlanta showed it perfectly. There was quite a few times where we saw like two separate groups, like separated from
Mhm.
each other, and they weren't gaining up on each other. They were working with each other, and you were able to make moves. This was actual super speedway racing, and this is what we should be seeing at Daytona and Talladega every single time we go. But instead, we're just bumper to bumper every single time. It's just ridiculous. It's getting really stale. I thought it was cool for the first few years. I'm like, oh wow, we got three wide going on for 50 continuous laps. This is so badass. But really, the more I look into it, the more I watch old super speedway racing, especially thanks to Tubi, I'm able to watch like old races. I was like, man, this racing kind of sucks now.
Smoke and mirrors. I was saying it on the show last week. If you're pan it looks great on TV. It looks so good. And for the new fans, they're like, "Wow, they're racing really close." And they're going, "How fast?" And wow, amazing. And they don't see that they're holding 60% throttle at the front. They don't see that nobody's passing. They just see a big pack, and then maybe sometimes they wreck. And the new fans love that. And the problem with that is once you wake up to what you're seeing and you're not an established fan like you and me, they're gonna be like, oh, nothing happens here. Oh, okay. I'm gonna tune in. I'll try to tune in for the end of the race next week, see what happens. I'll just check the results online. And then by late June, you've forgotten completely about NASCAR. And that's not what we want. You got to actually make the racing compelling to people, because you and I being like, no, you if once you learn about it, it's so cool. Bringing new people in, that grows the fan base, not the
Yeah.
other way around.
Not exactly, man. Well, how about we look into Cup Series points before we take our break?
For
Um,
sure.
I'm on the NASCAR app. I know sometimes they're wrong, but so far, Ryan Blaney is leading the way in points.
Yes. How about Blaney at the end of that race? Getting spun out with 28 laps to go, comes back and finishes fourth.
Dude,
That's why he's the points leader.
he's
That's
a
why he's the
great
points leader.
driver. The way he saved it,
Hmm. Yeah.
absolutely awesome. Because that
Do you
thing,
think
he
that one
could have
needed to
ended
be a
in the wall.
caution?
Um,
A lot of people are saying that one did not need to be a caution.
I feel like it should have because it looked like he was gonna turn up into the
Yeah.
track. So I get why they called the caution.
I totally understand it too. I say most of the drivers in the field would have lost that car.
Yeah,
Blaney's just
because
that good.
it was very different from like let's say the Riley Herb situation
Hmm.
at the end of the Daytona 500 because he was on the front stretch. He was kind of turning towards pit
Yeah.
road. Wasn't
He
looking
was
like
in
he
the
was.
back of he's kind of towards the back of the field by the
Yeah.
end of it.
So Blaney, yes, I completely
Hmm.
understand why they wadded them back up for that. But
For sure.
yeah,
For sure.
driver of the week. Let's give it to Blaney.
Hmm.
That was awesome,
And shout out to Carson Hocevar. He's getting a lot of flack, but he
dude.
was the Blaney move was the only actual dangerous thing he did. Other than
Yeah,
that, he's going for the win, and I don't want to see him get Ross Chastained in the sense that he gets suppressed.
yeah. I
Um,
mean,
I
so
want to see
many.
him go out and go for wins and be who he is.
Yeah, and so many drivers when they were younger in their careers, they made jackasses of themselves too. They've done some stupid shit. I mean, look at my guy Kevin Harvick back in the
Mhm.
day. How many fights he started? Look at
Exactly.
Kyle Busch, man. How much trouble he got into. So
Yeah.
it's gonna
People are
happen.
upset with Hocevar's reputation and what he's done in the truck series. And so yeah, they understand that he's could be a bit of a loose cannon, so they want him to fall in line now that he's working with the big cars and the big boys. But man, he had a hell of a race.
Yeah.
He really did.
Best career finish, third for him. So pretty cool to see for Hocevar. I know he is one talented driver. I hope he doesn't give up the aggressiveness because that is what wins you
Yep,
races. But you gotta not look like an idiot at the same time.
for
Use it,
sure.
be cool with it, be like a Dale Earnhardt and make it look like a mistake.
I don't think he even looked like an idiot this weekend. I think, yeah, the Blaney situation. that was a little bit aggressive, and it was more of a misjudgment, but I wouldn't call him an idiot per se. Um, I'm still not even sure why Ross Chastain was pulling him aside. I was watching Kyle Busch's onboard at the end of stage one, and I thought they wrecked because the camera cut out. He got so close to Hocevar's bumper, and that was hilarious to hear in the stage break. He's like, "I
Yeah.
don't care if he wrecks the field, I'm gonna get him." Um, but yeah, that it was I don't see why Chastain had to pull him aside. I can see why Blaney did pull him aside, but they seemed cool. And
Well,
shout out
um,
Carson Hocevar.
Ross Chastain, he actually took Hocevar as like his mentor.
Mm,
Hocevar, or yeah,
yeah,
Chastain is Hocevar's mentor. Has been since probably the Truck
it's
Series
got to be
for
the Nice
Hocevar.
Motorsports days.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
Nice Motorsports connection. So they've
Hmm.
been working together for a while. So I'm sure he just told him like, "Hey man, I've been in the same situation before. Just got to keep it cool and learn from your
Right.
mistakes." And I'm sure Hocevar will. He's a smart kid.
And then you talk about manufacturer manipulation from the end of last year and how they made a bunch of rules to go against that. First thing Hocevar says on TV after he gets out of the car, he's like, "Mr. H, I'm sorry I didn't push your car." Like, come on. Come on. I mean,
He's just trying to be
like
on their
you
good
want
side.
no, I know, but you want these guys to get out of the car and just it doesn't matter at that point in the race. It's just you out there. Like you want to, man, I was so close, finished second. Like what could have been? Like not get out of the car, be like, "I'm sorry, Mr. H, please, 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 please don't cancel me. Like I'm good. I'm a good Chevy boy." Like, come on.
Yeah, that was pretty
That
ridiculous.
was tough to see, but that's the business these days. That's the business these days.
Yeah, it's a bunch of bullshit.
Hmm.
Yeah, and William Byron, he's second in points. Tyler Reddick,
Even
great
with wrecking
start.
out.
Yeah,
I will say the Kyle Larson Austin Cindric incident took you and Nick out in the same crash with
yeah,
your race picks, which gave me 30 points. So thank you, Kyle Larson.
yeah, I guess so. But man, that's just a typical Kyle Larson. He's trying to go for a
Yeah.
win and he doesn't care where anybody else is, man. He
Mm-mm.
doesn't listen to his spotter or anything. That is just classic Kyle Larson right there, man.
Late in the race, he's got tunnel vision.
Yeah.
Thought he could close the gap. It's just nowhere to go. Expected Cindric to lift, but we see it time and time again. Cindric is up there at these types of races. I mean, after these two races, he's sitting fourth in points, even with a wreck out. So
Yeah.
how about Tyler Reddick, Bubba Wallace, and John Hunter Nemechek are the top three Toyotas in points
Wow.
right now.
Who
The,
would have thought that?
the first Joe Gibbs Toyota is sitting 12th. Now,
Wow.
that's Christopher Bell. He's got to win.
Yeah.
But Joe Gibbs off to an iffy start at best
Yeah.
for one of the
Um,
powerhouse teams in the Cup Series.
man, kind of showed it in qualifying this weekend too. I mean, they
Hmm.
were qualifying in the 30s for Joe Gibbs
Yeah,
Racing.
yeah, they're looking for you'd think more handling and trimmed out and whatnot.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting. We're gonna get more into the meat of the schedule, and I mean, Joe Gibbs already has a win, so they're not too upset about that. But it's just as wacky as these first two races are, and then maybe going to Coda could be just as wacky.
Yeah,
It
we're
still is
starting.
interesting to look at the points and see who's starting a foot ahead and see who's starting behind, or see who's still sleeping in bed like Chase Briscoe, but didn't show up to the track for all we care. But yeah, it's interesting so far.
Yeah, very interesting. Chase Briscoe sitting 45th in points, minus
Yeah.
51. That blows, man. He just has a huge hole to dig himself out of right
Mhm.
now. Atlanta did not really help at all.
No. I mean, even if he has a literal perfect coda, gets the all 60 points he can get, wins all the stages, and wins the race, which road course highly unlikely. Briscoe, I don't know, not the best road course racer. Um,
Xfinity he was, but
yeah,
didn't really translate to Cup. Same with
yeah.
Cindric.
Hmm. It's interesting. They're so far behind. I mean, we're talking must-win territory already. Already.
Yeah, it's scary. But James Small, he's still going to be on the pit box this weekend
Hmm.
because they're still trying to
They're still
appeal.
doing the appeal.
Yeah. So that'll be good for
You
Briscoe.
you
He can
want
at
your
least
crew chief for
still,
a road course.
yeah, he wants to still build that relationship with him, and
For
especially at
sure,
one
for
of the
sure.
toughest courses too.
Yeah.
Alrighty, well, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we are going to be making our picks for Circuit of the Americas. Stay tuned. All right, guys, welcome back. We are going to be making our picks for Circuit of the Americas. No truck series this weekend, so our picks will roll over to the next time that they are on track. Let's kick off with the Xfinity series. We got the Focused Health 250, 65 laps, 156 miles. That is about 250 kilometers. That's why we named it 250 for anyone that was as confused as I was when they were looking up the things about this race. um,
Finally, Shane is like a race that makes sense.
right? For once. Stages 1 and 2 are 20 laps each, and the final will be 25. Last year's winner, Kyle Larson, when he made an entry in with that 17 at HMS. Some notables here. Ross Chastain will be in that 9 for Junior Motorsports. That will be the superstar car this year. I'm excited to see him in that 9. It's going to be weird. Carson Hocevar is going to be in the 14 for SS Greenlight. William Byron will be in the 17 for HMS. And Riley Herbst in the 19 for Joe Gibbs Racing, reunited once again with his old team. Man, that I'm sure they're scared to have him back because he used to wreck a lot of cars with them. But we have our picks here, and Nick will be going first. He is going to be going with Connor Zilich. I think that's a great pick. Road course ace right there. One of the best to do it.
For sure. I mean, the biggest thing is he's got to get used to this car and whatnot. I mean, we saw what he did in the truck last year, running a second faster than people in qualifying, but he gets into the race and skies it out of turn one. So if he can keep the car under him, I mean, he passed double the amount of trucks that anybody else passed last year. I think that's an excellent pick. You worried about the experience level there and how it flows in the pack.
Yeah, totally agreed. I mean, he's going to make a lot of rookie mistakes. Everyone does it.
Hmm.
Doesn't matter how good you are. So he'll definitely be learning something this weekend, but I still think Nick is on a good path with going to victory lane and gaining some points on us more than he already
For
has.
sure, for sure. I mean, yeah, you're in the lead though. It's a close race. We closed the gap back up, which
All
is
right.
nice. And it's very easy. We each of us after two races, or I guess three races in the Cup Series because we counted the Clash, we've all scored 45 points. So
Sweet.
that'll work that. For me, I get to pick next. Uh, right? Yeah, I get to pick
Yep.
next. You reminded me when you said last year when Larson won. It reminded me of that crazy finish where Shane and Austin Hill were bumping and banging off each other, but then it was all for naught, which that opened the door for Kyle Larson to get through. It was all for naught because Shane drove off the track allegedly in the S's and got disqualified. So um, that being said, I'm going to go with a former winner in the Cup Series at this track, that 9 car, Ross Chastain, um, a junior motorsports entry, a guy who's won at this track before. I think that's going to be a really strong entry. And again, as long as these extra cars and these guys can be comfortable in them, um, I think that Ross Chastain will put up a great fight.
Yeah,
Maybe we'll see an Xfinity watermelon smash.
maybe, man. We didn't really get to see much of those in his college days. Um, but yeah, it would be cool to see him win with that 9 at Junior Motorsports. I mean, that car has been to victory lane many, many times with many, many drivers, many notable drivers too. So just add him into the list. For my pick, I mean that 17 it won here last year with Sir Kyle Larson. I gotta go with the same car. William Byron, he's entered in this weekend. Man, I have picked him a lot this year on the Cup side, but I'm gonna bring that over to the Xfinity side. Kid knows how to run these road courses. He's probably the guy who wins the least on road courses out of all the HMS guys, but he's still got it in him. He was a pro when he was in the Xfinity series with Junior Motorsports, so I see him going to victory lane. Kid's just one of the best to do it.
For sure, and you know that Hendrick car is going to show up. They got all the notes from Junior Motorsports with that partnership they have, and that car is always strong as long as it doesn't have a small mechanical issue. I mean, but even then, Larson was able to overcome that last year, and um, Byron's using this to get more track time, and Byron knows what he's doing too. So I think we have the three best picks, frankly. The guys you'll see up there, and they're all out of the Junior Motorsports stable or Junior Motorsports adjacent.
Yeah, pretty much. All right, so great picks. Let's move over to the Cup Series. We got the Echo Park Grand Prix, 95 laps, 224 miles. Stage 1 is 20 laps. Stage 2 is 45 laps, and the final stage is 30. So, Tom, that's going to be some crazy strategy calls throughout this race. All three stages are different lengths. It's going to be a little wacky coming here.
They're just trying to break it up and try to keep the crew chiefs on their toes and whatnot. But um, I'm sure we'll see short pit in the stages. I'm curious to see for both this and the Xfinity race how the shorter course will affect pit strategy. Just less time to come in and pit with cutting that mile off the track or whatever. Um, so yeah, it's always going to be changing. It's going to be a dynamic race event. You're wondering how cautions are going to play into that, and we'll just kind of have to see.
Yeah, for sure. Last year's winner, William Byron, my Xfinity pick. So I got good luck on my side right there. And big notable, making his Cup Series debut, Connor Zilic. He's going to be in that 87 for Trackhouse Racing with Red Bull on the car.
Mm.
Red Bull is finally back in the sport after such a long time. Probably ever since we saw Red Bull Racing leave. Um, Such a beauty. So happy to see it back in the sport, and happy to see that Connor Zilic is going to be making his Cup Series debut because we know that this kid is going to be one of the future superstars of this sport. So, going to be a fun race already.
Oh, for sure. I mean, this kid is something special, and for them to already trust him in the Cup Series, and for people to be taking him this seriously this early in his life is really cool. I mean, the guy won a Rolex 24 and while he was a senior in high school. Like it's
That's a lot.
it's incredible. It's incredible. He's got to go to English class on Monday morning and be like, "Look at my Rolex." Like,
Yeah,
yeah, it's going to be cool to see him out there and see what he can do.
totally. All right, so let's make our picks for the Cup Series race this weekend. Nick will be taking Tyler Reddick, one of the best road course racers right now. So that
Hmm.
is a wonderful pick. He's also had a great start to the season. I got to go with the new GOAT of road course racing, Shane Van Gisbergen. It is his first full time season in the Cup Series, and I think he is going to kick off the new season with a bang and showing all these guys that he is here to win and contend for a championship. SVG going to victory lane at Coda.
That is why Trackhouse gave up on Zane Smith. They said, "This guy, We have 5 road courses in the regular season. If one of the 3 of us is not picking SVG to win any of these road courses all year long, then something's gone horribly wrong. I mean, that is why he's sitting in the Cup Series in a chartered car, to come at this road course, to show up for this road course and win this road course. So, and frankly, I'm a fan. From seeing him drive through the Chicago street races that first year, I was like, this guy's legit. This is cool. Um, I hope somebody goes home with a brand new rugby ball signed by SVG after the weekend's over.
Yeah, dude. Us Chicago
Hmm.
boys, we love us some SVG.
Hmm. For sure, for sure. I'm gonna go with. I should go with a Ford because we have a Toyota pick, a Chevy pick. Should go with a Ford, but I'm gonna go. Nobody's really jumping off the sheet here to me, besides the two you guys picked. So I'm just gonna go out on a limb here and say former winner of this race, Chase Elliott, is gonna be up there, be in contention. Um, Chase Elliott's kind of back. I feel he had a little bit of a slump, not only with the injury, but then just in general, they didn't come back strong. So I think the 9 car could get it done, and I'm taking such 2 popular weeks, 2 popular picks in a row. Good God, Logano then Elliott,
Man, what is going
amazing. I
on
know.
with you?
I don't have faith in my own driver. That's why.
Yeah.
The
Don't
plain as that.
I'm in the same
But at
boat,
least
man.
my driver's car will look good. But
Hey, yeah,
I'm
that's
curious
for
to
sure.
see. I'm curious to see how this race plays out. Frankly, I mean, it's so much has changed in the Cup Series from we raced here last year. I don't really remember this race all that much last year. Maybe I go back and pull it up on my DVR and give it a watch again. But like I couldn't have told you who won before you told us at the beginning of the segment. So,
Yeah.
um, when in doubt, I guess go with Hendrick Chevy. That's so boring. I'm boring. Sorry, y'all.
Hey, that's not boring when you're trying to get some points, man. That's for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah,
But
you're right. You're right.
Hendrick Motorsports, I mean, all their drivers are good at road courses.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
I we picked some of the best non-Hendrick Motorsports drivers. So
For
on a
sure.
road course, so it's those two, and then the rest of HMS, I would say, are
Yeah.
the best of the best here,
I feel like Chris Buescher could show up, and if I had to pick a Ford, that's probably who I would have gone with.
dude. I
Um,
mean, he went toe to toe with SVG last year at Watkins Glen and one hell of a
for
battle.
sure. For sure. I feel like that's somebody I'd watch out for on the
Yeah,
back end, but
Chris Busher, man,
and
he's
maybe
just a
Cindric.
sleeper anywhere.
Yeah, and maybe Cindric has will bring back his road course prowess. He started the year confidently. I mean, sitting up there in the top 5 in points. So maybe they take some risks to gain some extra points and whatnot.
Yeah, I mean it would be smart. I mean
Mhm.
he hasn't really brought over any of that road course talent from when he was over in the Xfinity series. I know those cars are very very different, but you would still think that he would still have a little bit of that left in him. So maybe he can show that this weekend.
For sure. For sure. Those are the 2 Fords I'll be watching along with our Chevy picks and our Toyota pick. So
Yeah,
it'll
even
be
Bubba
it'll be a fun
Wallace.
race. Yeah, Bubba's been improving on road courses.
Yeah,
It'll be interesting to watch.
yeah, he has been looking good the past like 2 years on road courses. Maybe he can go out there and maybe get a win. That'd be pretty cool to see a Bubba
I
road
don't
course win.
I don't have
I,
faith in Bubba winning at a road course
yeah.
anytime soon, but that's that's just me.
Alrighty, well, I think that will about wrap up everything for our show here. Guys, make sure to like our video, subscribe to our channel, and check out all of our links down below. Make sure to follow us on X as well. We'll be posting all of our updates on our point system that we got going on and all of that fun stuff. So make sure to tune in. So for the Stock Car Spectacle, I'm Ian Jortson,
I'm Tom Hovland.
and we'll see you guys next time. Enjoy Coda.